Humans are multidimensional beings. We can exist as fractals in several dimensions and several versions of ourselves, because even the concept of time is not real. I'm Beth Ann Campbell, and this is Something Weird Happened Here. Welcome to Something Weird Happened Here, the podcast for people who love a twisted tale but aren't afraid to poke at it a bit. We share stories that are postmarked peculiar and then explore the story with curiosity and an open mind. Stay tuned after the show to find out how to submit your strange saga, and maybe we or you will share it on air. Now let's get started, because no matter where you are in this mysterious world, something weird happened here. This tale is postmarked Vienna, Austria. Subject line: Black Orbs, Hotel Hauntings, and Clairsentience. Today we're talking again with my friend Tania, who's had multiple paranormal experiences. She's also a neurodivergent clairsentient, which means she senses energies, positive or negative. This is part 2 of a 2-part episode. Let's pick up where we left off last episode. Do you think that because most people, whether they have I think, of course, we all have some sort of intuitive ability, but most of us do not, it does not manifest in the way that it does with someone like yourself. Do you think that energies, I know that, of course, there are energies that are just exist and you pick up, but do you think that energies are also attracted to you, like your, a path of least resistance because perhaps they know or they sense that you can sense them?
Well, I think that if I was a medium, then they would have already come to me in childhood. Because if you're a true medium, they will come to you and be there, especially when you are a child, because then you are still much more clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient than if you're grown. So they would have tried when I was little. And I do not know if they tried, but there is a little hint because my parents said to me, Tanya, the first thing that we remember you saying was when you were a little child and we tried to put you to bed and turn the lights off and we said goodbye, have a good sleep, then your first words that you spoke as a 2-year-old was, wait, wait, alone. Wait, wait, alone. That's what you said. So please wait, don't leave me alone. Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe when my parents went away, something happened. I do not consciously remember. Um, but what my most positive experience, because you were talking about that, one of it's not a most positive experience, but it is a positive one, is when I was in Mexico. And this hotel is also very old, and it's always the hotels, because in hotels there is a lot of energy coming
Yeah,
from
yeah,
people from abroad, and they bring something with them.
yep.
So I was in a hotel in Mexico, and at 3 a.m. at night, exactly at 3 a.m., I was awake. I couldn't sleep. So it's oftentimes in hotels that I can't sleep because there is a lot of energy going on. And at 3, it goes on my door. I'm like, who is knocking my hotel room door at 3 a.m.? That's very weird, you know? So I go and look and I see first I looked if there is anything that could knock, something that maybe moves a cupboard
Mhm.
door or anything, but there was nothing. Everything was dead silent. And so I opened the door of the hotel room, and even outside it was dead silent, because normally the hotel had a garden. So normally you should have heard at least
Sounds,
something,
yeah.
maybe like the crickets or maybe a bird or
Yeah.
something walking in the grass, but it was so dead silent. So I was like, that is weird. It's so dead silent and there's nobody out there, but I hear 3 times knocking. But I thought, okay, but that's basically the hotel ghosts. They
Yeah,
they do that.
it's interesting. So I had a guest on, a friend of mine, who talked about she has had multiple experiences with, we call them UFOs because that's what it felt like. She was at her parents when she was very young. She and her sister were in their early teens, and they were building a house, so they were staying out there before the house was complete. And then one night, at midnight, it was dark, and then this light just lit up, and she said they could kind of see something. But one of the things that she talked about was before this happened, you could hear the frogs, you could hear the crickets, you could hear the sounds of night, right? It's very rare to find yourself in complete silence, and that's exactly what happened. And it makes me wonder, because she had a subsequent experiences in this same area with not the hovering, although her father had multiple with the hovering, where it just turned everything bright, daylight. But she had like three experiences where there were these light bulbs that were traveled very fast, kind of sounded like your black orb, but not black, just light. And I just wonder now with you talking about that silence, I wonder if it wasn't an alien visitation, but perhaps something different and paranormal. I'm just curious about
So
that
the
silence.
silence thing is definitely an indicator because if there is not even a gust of wind in the trees, then something is far
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
But I wouldn't say necessarily aliens because I mean, if I do believe that aliens are there and that they exist, but I think mostly they live among us. You know, I think they look like us, or at least similar to us, and they live and normally among us, and they maybe have some kind of possibility to do camouflage or whatever. But I wouldn't, you know, I don't expect them to be so extremely different from me, even
yeah.
though there are a lot of theories about that. So I wouldn't go into that necessarily,
Yeah,
no.
but it's really an interesting theory because we did try to think about what could it have been, and I don't necessarily believe we don't really have any evidence. That doesn't mean that it's true that like some other planet, a bazillion light years away has the technology. It's an unlikelihood. There's probably life elsewhere, but I'm more inclined to believe that there's some sort of an alternative dimension or interdimension or alternate universe where that perhaps, like you talked about the ley lines, there is some belief that in certain parts of the world the veil is thinner between dimensions, between or are you the one? Yeah, didn't you talk about yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
this concept of a
I can,
four. Yeah, tell me this
yeah,
because
I can
this is
repeat that.
fascinating. This is fascinating.
So I do believe that there are 12 dimensions, but one of the things that I've heard, it's not wisdom from me, so I can't remember who said it, but one of the things I heard is if there is the human who is a 3D being and we have a two-dimensional shadow on the wall of ourselves, then there might be a 4D being having a three-dimensional shadow. And that's why we see shadow people. So that he explained it like that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that when you to told me that, I mean, that's what I kind of thought of too. Or could there even be ways for people, humans in a parallel universe to have, are there portals or ways that somehow they could, or could we even just be seeing into them where the veil or the barrier is thin? I don't know. There's so many possibilities. I even was I think I talked to you a little bit about this about my fascination with dark energy because we know dark energy is out there. It's around us. It's out in the universe. We can't perceive it with instruments. We know it's there and we don't know a lot about it, but could that be related to consciousness? Could it be related to some of the things that people experience? I think it's just a kind of a fascinating subject.
Yeah, so the number one thing I believe is that a human is a multidimensional being. So we definitely can exist as fractals in several dimensions and several versions of us, because even the concept of time is not real. There is no time. We only think that there is time because we have like this point in time where we're born and this point in time where the physical body dies, and we experience it as linear going from one place to the other. But as soon as our physical body dies, we see it again. We come back into that knowledge. Oh, there is no time because I am an eternal being. So I was fooled while I was here. And that
Yeah,
being that I am here is not my true me. My true self is what I am after this physical body is gone. This physical body is just an avatar, which I use to be here and to move around here in this sphere and in this dimension also.
it's
And the
just
second thing is,
fascinating.
where I think you are right is they told us at school that vacuum outside in the universe in space is nothing. But now we know from quantum physics, vacuum is not nothing. Vacuum is the multiplicity or the entirety of all the possibilities. So it's basically vacuum is like a stem cell. A stem cell can develop into a heart cell or a brain cell or a kidney cell or whatever it wants to. And so vacuum is the same. Vacuum can develop into a planet, can develop into a bird, into a tree, into a table, into a laptop. So basically, we are what we're looking at is a huge possibility of a huge amount of possibilities is actually the
It's
thing.
fascinating, even from a scientific, pure scientific perspective. I was listening to, I believe it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is not his theory, but he was talking about this fascinating theory of because things are made up of atoms, and atoms are made up of electrons and protons and neutrons, and there's this theory out there that there's only one electron because every electron behaves exactly the same. They're identical, they behave exactly the same. So there's this theory that because space-time is so connected, and yet it's so hard to even grasp conceptually that there's just one electron in the all of the universe that is just, you know, back and forth in infinite space-time continuums, and that's how we see things. So I don't know. I can't, my mind starts to explode when I start thinking of that stuff, but it is
But
fascinating.
that concept is also known from spirituality. They say there is only one consciousness, and this one consciousness, which some people call God or source or whatever, this one consciousness has basically cut itself into thousands and millions and billions of fractals. And each of these little fractals is us. So basically, like you have a tree, and we are the little leaf on the tree, becoming conscious that it's not just a leaf, also connected to the branch connected to the trunk, and whatever, you know what I mean. So basically there is just one consciousness, and that's all of us. So basically consciousness is talking to itself right now.
It's just fascinating. It's so hard for for us mere humans to grasp, but so kind of getting back to more classic stuff. Have you had, I know we talked about a few situations. Have you had any what I would call like classic ghost encounters where you have sensed or seen or picked up on what you believe to be as the remnant, whether it's aware or not, of a
I can't
person?
think of one now, but I've always had weird experiences in hotels because I was traveling so much. And once I was in a hotel that was even here in Vienna, because back then I lived in Graz and I needed to search for an apartment here in Vienna. So I needed a place to stay in Vienna. So I went to that hotel, and that's also a very old one. And in that room, my laptop started to do whatever. I mean, you could just say that was hacking. That was somebody hacking my laptop. That's perfectly
Of
possible.
spirit hacking you.
But I'm in my bed, and the laptop is shut. So the laptop was not turned off, but it was shut. And before I had it shut, I had music on. So I think I put in YouTube or whatever. And then I closed the browser and I closed the laptop and went to sleep. And then while I'm lying there falling asleep, suddenly the laptop starts playing music. And I'm like, do the ghosts want to have a party or am I being hacked?
It's so weird, like hotels, theaters, and prisons for some reason. And I'm sure it's just because, again, like you said, there's so many different people, a lot of really strong energy of different types, people from different places going through there. But it's really interesting how many haunted hotels, haunted prisons, probably the violence is a factor there, and then theaters, very notoriously haunted. So. I guess it's a tribute to all the colorful people that are coming through. So Tanya, you had mentioned to me that most of your experiences that you've had, whatever they are, have not made you afraid. And I've heard this from other people too. And I know so many people who are afraid of seemingly minor things. Having been a paranormal investigator for 10 years, I saw a lot of fear come in. What is it that helps you to not be afraid? when you experience this thing. Because honestly, I've said this before, I would, if I saw a black orb do what it did in my house, I would probably shit my pants. I'm not even joking. And I did this for 10 years. I was looking for, so what is it that keeps
Well,
you not afraid?
number one, I'm Austrian, so I am very, very like a general from the military. I tell them, get out of my house, or I'm gonna show you what I can do.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be nice for you. So I'm quite strict. And number two, I am autistic, and an autistic person always has this extra that we are a little bit like a scientist. We can look at things very, very neutrally, so that people often call us cold-hearted. You know, they called me cold-hearted, and many other autistics out there too. Don't you have any feelings? And we're like, sure, we have feelings, but we have the ability to look at something very, very objective, like a true scientist would. That is why many autistics feel so well in science and go into science. And I did that too. I studied pharmacy for a long time because I felt so great there, because it's like everything is about repetition. So you repeat, you repeat, you repeat, and then you have your clear answer. And also it is about, you know, finding out the truth. So you look at different aspects, you check out all the possible reasons that could make something happen, and then in the end you build your opinion. And if your opinion is changed by new evidence, then fine, then you're open-minded, you're open to that. You know, that's what a true scientist is for me. So for me, I look at these things and I say I'm in control of my reality, because this is my life and this is my body and this is my home. Yeah. If I am in a hotel, sure, it's not my home. But then I say, hey, as long as I am here, you don't do that. You don't mess with my laptop. You can do that with the next person who comes through the door and who has no idea. Yeah. But but with me, it's a little bit different. So, and also you do protection. For example, I do not drink any alcohol. And if you also, I would not recommend anyone out there to do any drugs or something, because that invites them. You know, alcohol will make holes, little holes in your aura. So if your aura is like a kitchen sieve, then of course everything will get in there. But what I did have once was a ghost that actually followed me. So I don't know where I picked it up. Maybe because I forgot on a cemetery or something, that I forgot to say something. I don't know where I picked it up, or maybe from one of the hotels. I have no idea. But definitely this presence was with me for about 1.5 years. And it was in an apartment. And in this apartment, there was one specific light next to my bed, which it always made blink as if it had a Morse code message for me or something. And, you know, it was like one day the lamp worked fine, next day too. And then on the next day, it went off like disco, you know? I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? So this thing was longer with me because it always liked to touch my hair. You know, I felt it touch my hair and pick it up. You know, that's
That-
somehow they like to pick up long hair. No,
That's creepy. That's so
so things
creepy.
like that. But the good thing is, I know a friend of mine, and I said to her, "Listen, you also have these psychic abilities. Help me get rid of this." And she did that with me over the phone. Um, and we made a little ritual for it to leave my aura. We said, okay, you've been a guest here long enough, and now it's time to move on for you. And the funny thing was, the next time I saw it was, you know, that apartment complex I live in was like a square, you know? So when you look out the window, you see on the other side of the field, you see the windows of the other people. And then I looked out and I saw in another apartment the lights going like ding, 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 ding. And
You're
I
like,
thought,
good.
that's where you moved in now. So it basically said goodbye to me from the other side
Oh.
of this patio.
Do you do anything? You talk about a lot of things to do to get rid of spirits or to cleanse. Do you have anything that you would do? Maybe you talk like, and you talked about the hotel in the UK where you just really didn't even do any research or you didn't even prepare. Are there things that you might do to prepare to protect yourself or block or maybe put a shield up for, or is it more
Yeah.
reactive?
Yes, for a long time I was way too naive because you know basically being brainwashed by this very scientific mind orientated society that we live in, which is fine, science is fine, but they also brainwash you to shove everything else aside, and that's just not balanced, that's not the golden middle way to just say there is only the physical and there is nothing in the non-physical. That's stupidity, actually.
Yeah.
But I was so brainwashed, that I didn't believe in all of that stuff. For half of my life, I didn't even believe in God and anything. Yeah. So I really did too little of protection. But in order to protect yourself, look at how old is that thing that I'm moving to. If it's an 800-year-old hotel, then maybe it's good if you don't go there.
Yeah.
Um, and also ask the people there, ask the staff who works there, who have been working there not like a month, but for a few years. Ask them, is there anything going on? Most of them will be honest and say what they have seen or heard.
Hmm.
Um, some of them might not tell you because maybe the boss told them
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
to say anything. Yeah, but that depends. I mean, and of course, always do your own aura protection. Like each day, say that you are protected. You can also call in your ancestors for protection. I tell, hey, grandma, can you please be with me today because I have an important appointment? Can you please be by my side in spirit and help me through that? So you can do that, and also sage your own aura. Do a salt bath with sea salt, things like that. That is just cleansing. Yeah.
I love the ancestor thing because I do, and I don't do this necessarily proactively, I should, but sometimes when I'm feeling bad or negative, I will do this little ritual where I, do a relaxation and I kind of I have these infinite golden threads that I just connect with the universe, but I pull in the energy of my former selves, my future self, my mother who's passed away, my sisters who are alive because they are, just pure love to me. My dog sometimes, my husband. So sometimes I just pull in these energies just to have around me to make me feel better. But I haven't done it proactively before as sort of a ritual. I think I'm gonna put something together to do that. I love that. I just but if nothing else, it's just good vibes to be thinking about, people that you love and things that are good in your life and to have to be surrounded by that. And I think
And
that's very
also
scientific.
because you were saying about childhood experiences and mediumship and stuff like that. What I just thought of was when I was a kid, by nature, I was believing in these things from the other side. So when I was a kid, like maybe 8, 9, 10, I always used to have one card out of a regular playing card deck with me. It was the Queen of Hearts. So this I always had with me in my pocket because I believed it brings me luck. So by nature, I was already a kid that is very superstitious, or how do you say that in English, like believing in things that other
Open.
people might not believe in. Yes, open.
Yeah, you haven't been adulted, brainwash adulted
Yes.
into you can't
and i
believe
also
that. That's not true.
And I realized that also in sports, because when we in sports at school, when we had team sports like basketball and volleyball and all of this, I was always the one thinking like my team is gonna score in 10 seconds. And then and then it happened. So and
Yeah,
I thought, hey, maybe that's me creating that, manifestation kind of thing. But back then, of course, I didn't know the term manifestation yet,
yeah.
but I thought of myself as maybe it was me that helped my own team there.
I think that because I'm not a religious person, I think when people pray, for me, the power of prayer is that it is energy that you're pulling in and manifesting. You can, if enough people and enough energy comes in, that you can manifest stuff. I had a guy on the show, his name is Ray, and he's just a really fun guy, but he has some abilities, and we were trying to figure out, is it luck? Is it manifestation? Is it psychic ability? Because he would have this uncanny ability over and over and over again to sort of predict things, but it was almost like he was making those things happen, like somebody winning at the craps table in Las Vegas, or somebody hitting a home run. And it's just it's really interesting because I think they're all connected, right? I think we call it when I first went into it, I was like, oh, it's you have psychic abilities. But then the more he talked, I said, I don't know if it's psychic. Is it luck because it's just you pull in lucky energy and, is it manifestation? I don't know. I think it's fascinating. And that's one of the things I love about you, Tanya, is that you don't dismiss science and you don't dismiss that those things that are traditionally not considered science. You find a way to blend all of that and you talked about your neurodivergence kind of helping with that because you can look at things objectively and in a scientific way, but you're also open to and experience things that we can't explain, at least right now. I think someday we will because it's there, we will be able to explain it someday. But you just have this great blend, this beautiful blend of science and the ethereal and paranormal, I will call it, or supernatural, things that again are a little bit more intuitive, and I love that about you. It's really interesting.
The thing is, society today has a problem, a big one. It's a diabolical separation to say there can either be A or B.
Right.
No, that is just, in most cases, that's wrong. In most cases in life, A and B coexist together. So I am both here in the physical, but I also have a non-physical aura. Okay, so both is true. It's not just A or B. And that's typical diabolical separation. And they want to keep us there. They want to keep us thinking there is this group is only bad and this group is only good. That's not how it is. If you have a group of people, it doesn't matter which one, there will always be good and bad
Right.
individuals in there and good and
Right.
bad deeds, but it's always about the percentage, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tanya, we're getting close to an hour. I thank you so much for sharing all of this about yourself. You're such an amazing person and you have such great stories to tell and you tell them in such a unique way. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for being my guest here on Something Weird Happened Here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for joining this episode of Something Weird Happened Here. If you have a twisted tale that you witnessed, experienced, or heard from a reliable source, go to bethanecampbell.com/somethingweird to learn more and submit your story. If your tale is twisted enough, we'll share it on air during one of our episodes and might even invite you to be a guest on the show. And we're not picky. Your Something Weird Happened Here could be paranormal, psychic, UFOs, near-death experiences, dreams, parallel dimensions, Bigfoot, chupacabra, or any other weird and unexplained phenomena. We don't discriminate. If you're into paranormal mysteries that are scary, fun, and realistic, pick up a copy of my latest book, The R.I.P. Files, Case of the Demon Drums, the first in a series inspired by real cases that I, Bethane Campbell, worked on when I was a ghost hunter for nearly a decade. Case of the Demon Drums is available on Amazon and most online bookstores. And finally, we would so appreciate it if you would rate and review us on your favorite streaming platform and/or on YouTube. Thanks again, and remember, stay skeptical, but don't run towards the noise.